She takes...
All right, hold on, guys. We're going to be...
Okay.
Greetings, fellow midnight travelers from the east and back out west. You are tuned into the best. This is Spaced Out Radio Saturday.
We are your hosts, John and Stacey Edwards, broadcasting live from the secret SOR Appalachian Mountain installation.
We welcome you to tonight's show, including Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do me the solid and smash that subscribe button.
The website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a boatload of goodies for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shop at the Spaced Out Radio store, read up on SOR Newswire, and so much more.
Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on the website.
With a lifetime of interest in the paranormal, Tim Woolworth has been investigating for around 2 decades. Along the way, he was introduced to the Shack Hack Ghost Box, and the rest was history. Tim had such an amazing session at Gettysburg in 2010 that the very next month he launched his website, ITCVoices.org. He's been featured on many TV and radio programs, including a little thing called Paranormal Sideshow, by the way. In 2018, Tim also launched ParanormalStudy.com. Then in the bottom of hour number 3, we will bring you our new Saturday feature, because there's something strange about this week. But right now, without further ado, Mr. Woolworth, you there?
I am. How's it going, guys?
It's going great, man.
Going really good.
Murphy's Law.
You're keeping me up past my bedtime tonight.
We've got a bad habit of that.
We do.
But, you know, what else are you going to do? Prepare for the apocalypse?
Oh, yeah, just Corona and chill. You know how it is.
You know, let's not make that a thing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the baby boom from this?
Oh, yeah. What are they calling them now? Quarantiners or something like that? It's going to be great.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know that.
Generation Q. That's pretty amazing, man. So for the people that don't know out there, Tim runs, as I said, the ITCVoices.org. I love your story because ours also starts with this huge event that changed our paradigm, really, and made us go into the field. And, you know, that it was something we can never shake. And to be honest, it's still that. It's kind of chasing Amy for us. It's still that one standout event that is really better than the others. But for those that don't know, if you don't mind, tell a little bit about ITCVoices.org, about you a little bit, and what really was the event, because we teased a little bit there, that got you where you're at.
Well, ITC Voices, as you mentioned earlier, I launched in 2010, and it basically became the repository of ghost box knowledge, and it branched out into various forms of ITC over the years. For me, I got introduced to the ghost box in late 2008. I was at Rolling Hills Asylum. I was with this new team that I joined, and we were in the now defunct Christmas room. It's no longer accessible due to black mold. So I'm sitting in there, I'm with this new team, and this lady on the team breaks out this little Radio Shack radio and turns it on, and all I'm hearing is all this squawking and noise, and I'm like, what the heck did I get myself into with these people? But I'm recording it, and I'm just sitting in the back, just listening, and then all of a sudden, the noise, the static, the radio just stopped entirely. And the words came out, Tim Woolworth, clear as day. And I felt it was kind of a summoning, bringing me to the box. So I immediately asked her afterwards, what was that particular device? I looked it up. I learned how to hack it. So this was less than a year after Ghost Box hacks had been discovered. It was still, Radio Shack radio hacks had been discovered. So it was still really new in the paranormal field. Very few people had even heard of it. The SB7 hadn't come out yet. It was only basically Frank's boxes in the field at that particular point in time. So I kept dabbling with it, and I started to upgrade my equipment. I picked up mini boxes and Joe's boxes and Frank's boxes way back in the early day. And then in March of 2010, I was in Gettysburg for what was then called the Phenomenology Conference, and then it became Phenomenomicon, which unfortunately they were just going to do the grand reunion after 5 years of that particular conference, but it got canceled for obvious reasons. It was next month.
Right.
So I was in Gettysburg, walking around on a Saturday afternoon with a couple friends and doing various sessions in the fields. And then I got up to the marble monument on Little Round Top. For those who haven't been to Gettysburg, at the top of Little Round Top is this little marble castle. And it's got a staircase that goes up to a balcony where you can overlook the fields. You've got Devil's Den on the other side. And basically, it is one of the main tourist attractions on the Gettysburg battlefields. And then whenever you go there, there's busloads of people, and they always drop off by the monument, and there's just dozens of people walking through. But on this particular day, for some unknown reason, myself and another friend who was on the ghost team at that point in time, we walked into that monument, and there was nobody. I mean, nobody. It was in between buses. It was early March. It was windy. I guess just tourism wasn't a big thing. So I'm seeing no one in this monument. I set up a ghost box. So I set up my speaker and a mini box plus, and I sat down to do a session. And I did a 4-minute session that changed my life. During that session, family did show up. The adults walked around the outside because he saw this weirdo in there using a box talking to the air. But 2 little kids walked through, and they were talking about the awesome stairs off to the right, and they just passed right through. But while I'm doing this session, I had some of the clearest communication I'd ever heard in my life. There was no radio static. It was conversation level. Not only were they answering my questions directly, but you could hear technicians on the other side repeating my questions to them so they could answer.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I've got this clip online. You can hear it. It's freaking fantastic. But more important than that, there's a little boy who said, well, first of all, I asked if they were, for some reason, stuck there. These words just popped into my head. I said, are you trapped here? Have you been here? Are you stuck? And the words far too long came out. And I'm like, oh, great. They've been stuck here for a while. And I asked, is there a light? And you can hear the technician on the other side say, a light. And then this little boy comes through and says, the lights are everywhere. And then the words popped into my head that said, well, look at the ones who surround me. I called them my spirit guides at that point because I didn't know what technicians were. And I said, look to them, basically, and they'll help. And next thing you know, you hear a guide come through and say, they left. And then this woman comes through and says, we went through, thank you, all of this crazy stuff. So not only was it the clearest session I'd ever recorded until that point in time, and to be honest, I've listened to thousands of sessions. I haven't heard one as clear. But more importantly, it was a crossing over session in real time. And back then, I still had my little Sony MP3 recorder because this was 2010. So So I run back to the hotel and I'm like playing this little recorder with this little recorder with a speaker the size of a nickel for everybody. I'm like, listen.
Right.
And all these, it's a con. So everybody's like drinking in their rooms. And they're like, yeah, whatever. So 2 weeks later, I realized that the world needed to hear this session. And I launched ITC Voices as a result.
Well, that's amazing. I mean,
wow.
It's such a great story. I wanted everyone to hear it just because I love, again, the time period that you're finding this out. A lot of similarities there. And I'm not one of those people that if you have the flu, I'm like, oh my God, I've had the flu just as long. I don't like one-uppers or anything like that. And it's by no way, shape, or form. But I was introduced to the Shack Hack around the same time. I can't tell you where my tech guy, I absolutely got it, but we had the Shack Hack just show up, and Tim, the tech guy, Tim was my guy then, and he was on Haunted South with us, from 2010 to 2014, I think, our old podcast. But he had been my longtime compadre, and I remember us misidentifying it on one of our documentaries, and embarrassingly, that is still there to this very day because we were using this thing. We'd been using it for, quite a few investigations, and we're doing a documentary at Major Graham Mansion. And they were like, well, hey, why don't you tell what you're using? The producer. And I'm like, okay, yeah, not a problem. And boy, I knew what I was using. I knew what it was. I was going to tell all about it. And I pick it up, Tim, and I'm like, this is called a Frank's box. And this thing has over 100,000 views on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And all I can think is, dear God, I really hope Tim Woolworth has never watched this because, I would be endlessly ribbed. For
you can put subtitles over that, right? And just say, oops.
Oh, yeah. You know what?
Oh, there you go.
What a great idea. What a great idea. But at least I'm honest about it, right? Unlike some people in the field. I was using it, but didn't really understand how it worked. And that gets me to my question. It's a long way around on the question here. But there's a lot of people that see these on TV. They see the SB7s. They see, different like looping machines that are used. It just in a simple, just imagine you're talking to a fifth grader right now.
Layman's terms.
I'm not saying I wouldn't understand it, Mr. Audio Technician, but what do you think we're tapping into, Tim?
That is the golden question, because what we're tapping into has just become effusive. We don't know. The more that we learn, the less we know. So what we found is that we're tapping into consciousness first and foremost. What we've realized is that whatever is communicating with us has conscious intent behind it. So that is the only thing that we know at this point in time. It is a discarnate consciousness that is willing to communicate with us. Now, what that consciousness is it's completely insane. So one, as you know, you've used these boxes for a decade. You're going to have spirits who claim that they're dead. This happens all the time, and hence the name ghost box or spirit box, because people are convinced that when you walk into a location, you are going to talk to a spirit of a dead person who resided at that location alone. And that could not be further from the truth. And we'll get around to this point. So we have spirits that identify as dead. We also have consciousness that is alive and belongs to people who are among the living today. And over the course of my recording career, I have, on 3 separate occasions and many more, but the 3 that really blew my mind, I recorded the voice of someone known to me through the ghost box. The first time it happened, an old roommate from California. I was living in New York. He was living in California. We hadn't talked in so many moons that I didn't even have his phone number anymore. I just had his email address. And one night I did a session, I review it a couple days later, and I hear his voice come through loud and clear. More importantly, not only was it his voice, but he said my name in the way that he used to say it when we were roommates in the 90s, because in the 90s, South Park came out. There was this character named Timmy, so he always used to say my name with that particular inflection. And,
Right.
and he also said the word Karina. Now, I emailed him and said, Sean, I've got some crazy shit. This is called a ghost box. This is what I'm doing these days. Let me send you this audio. Here's my phone number. He immediately called me back. He said, how the fuck did you record my voice? And more importantly, how did you know about Karina? Apparently, Karina was somebody that he had met very recently, and it's now his life partner. They've been together all of this time. So he had just met her. More importantly, at the time that he gave me this information, he was in a dream state.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So the same thing happened a brief while later. I had a teammate from my ghost team in New York, who lived about 45 miles northwest of me, and she was practicing lucid dreaming. Once again, I was doing my session in the middle of the night. Her voice comes through, and it's crystal clear. It was so crystal clear that on a Frank's box that I was able to run a spectrogram on her voice versus what she recorded her voice afterwards, and the frequencies match up, which blows my mind, because when you think about the human voice, it requires several mechanisms of drawing in air and having it pushed out through your diaphragm, through exhalation, through your windpipe and your voice box, which vibrates your vocal cords. And then you have all the mouth parts as well. And everybody's voice has its own unique frequency, and her voice matched up. So how can a discarnate consciousness voice match up with a physical voice? That's something I'm still pondering today. And the third time that happened is the one that just blew my mind. I was on a ghost hunt. It was in an old funeral parlor that was part of the Underground Railroad in way northern New York, right on the shores of Lake Ontario. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting there at a table. We have a shack hack going, and I didn't catch it in real time. But when I listened back, the person who was sitting right next to me at the table, her voice comes through the radio, and it says, in a way, it's pissing me off. And then she speaks right after that in real time that says, go back the ways, something about help. So you can hear her voice coming through the radio and then her speaking right after it.
Wow.
Wow.
And that is the voice of the living that's coming through. More importantly, so we've got the dead, we've got the living, evidence of the living coming through. We also are getting things like consciousness that hasn't existed on this planet. We're calling them tonal, where basically they're speaking in tones. There's no human voice behind it. It's a very choral. You'll get many voices together at once speaking at the same time. And we're also getting what may be alien communication coming through. I've recorded this a couple times in my life. The most important one, you mentioned a Frank's box earlier. Ghost boxes were created by Frank Sumption. He's the guy who invented them back in 2002. Before Frank died in 2014, a couple months prior, I recorded something that may be of alien contact. So when Frank created these boxes, he didn't create them to communicate with spirit. He created them to talk to aliens. That was his entire goal. The entire time that he did these sessions, he was told certain things, that he came from Pleiades, that he was a purple princess who was seated on this planet, that he was a diva, he was from the stars, and they were coming back to pick him up. So a couple months before he died, I recorded all of that stuff in another one of those crystal clear communications like I had in Gettysburg. There's no radio static whatsoever. And it said that it talked about Frank, it talked about Diva, it mentioned Pleiades, that they come to Earth, that Frank was going to depart next, and then he died a couple months later.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is super heavy, man.
It was. And Aaron Sagers picked that up. It got published on HuffPost and a few other things because alien communication through a ghost box predicted a death. I mean, it doesn't get much crazier than that.
No, that's about as huge as it does get. And, I'm going to actually ask you about the alien communication because I see so much of that, in that field itself in ufology, of people using devices to do just that. Almost more serious communication than I see with the paranormal field.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's I have done a lecture at UFO cons on alien contact, possible alien contact in ITC. It's not only through ghost boxes. If you go back through the history of EVP, there's a bunch of alien contacts from Sarah Estep and Raymond Cass and a few others that came through EVP, through visual ITC, either through steam or through moving water. There have been so many images taken that look of alien origin that are absolutely mind-blowing. There are images that have come through on video ITC looping that look like alien contact. More importantly, one of the most documented experiments in history, the skull experiment, wound up getting blue, a perfect alien face recorded on video. I mean, whatever alien consciousness there is that wants to communicate with us, they've made themselves known.
Yeah, that's crazy. And, we've got about 2 minutes before our first break here. But speaking of the skull experiment, and I know we've talked about this before, that I can't even tell you how many times I've watched that documentary. Probably my favorite thing that's ever been recorded as far as the paranormal goes, to the point that we tried recreating it with some people, some like-minded people, and some alleged mediums, and I always have to throw that in there, just in case, right?
Yeah.
And a couple of skeptics. We did the same time, same room every week, and we did it for, I don't know, a year.
Yeah.
They continued to do it. They do it to this day, and this has been 6 years ago. So, I don't think they've ever missed a week, is what I heard.
No. As
far as the session happening, they've had some amazing things happen, but we left because of it getting dark and sort of opening yourself up to too much.
Oh yeah.
But that's a whole nother subject for another place. But the one thing we never did was use ITC.
No, never brought that into it.
Should have really done that.
Well, neither did the Fylth experiment, and they obtained amazing results inside of a year and a half.
Right. Yeah. I'll have to talk about, on the other side of this, I'll have to talk about the other part of that documentary with the name is really off my mind right now.
That's okay. We'll
thinking
figure
about
it
the
out.
church guys. So we'll be right back right after the break. Stick with us.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. For more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey Spaced Out Radio fans, it's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get BUMBLEFOOT?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, my friends, we own the night.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Welcome back. We are here with Tim Woolworth, and we are asking him all kinds of questions about ITC and ghost boxes. And Tim, I have a question for you.
Sure, what's up?
I know that there's a lot of different, since the Frank's box and since the SB7, people have just been coming out with different types of ITC devices. They supposedly do different things or work different. Do you have a particular device that is your favorite, your go-to device, one that you like more than another?
Well, my go-to device always is the Minibox Plus. But whenever I go on an investigation, I bring a slew of boxes with me because you never know if one's going to work better in a place than other places. Like on rare occasions, I'll bring an actual Frank's box. On most occasions, I will bring an Andes box or two or some classic Shack Hacks, including the first Shack Hack I ever made. But the Mini Box Plus is kind of my go-to because it's a box unlike any other box that's ever been made. It was in our field. There have been absolutely almost no electrical engineers dedicated to designing ghost boxes. But the Mini Box line was designed by a retired electrical engineer named Ron Ricketts. So he knew ghost boxes inside and out. He knew how to build a box that was like a tank, and it was also very functional. And for a tuned radio frequency tuner, what he did was he was able to create the first real random jump in a ghost box that had ever been created. And that random jump that was done just off of tuned voltage is something that has yet to be accomplished from other ghost box makers. Now, there are the new wave of ghost box makers, and I mean new wave as in like the last 4 or 5 years. They've done a lot of Arduino work where you can actually program in random jumps on a tuner, but it's not analog like Ron was able to set up. So the Mini Box is super rare. The Mini Box Plus, that is super rare. You'll never find one, and if you do, it's like 3 mortgage payments. Wow. So it's kind of my baby, and I bring that everywhere with me.
Wow. And it's probably just like having that one trusty recorder that I swear to you kind of put a little bit of energy in, and it seems to really, no matter how old it is, you get the best EVPs off of it, because I have one that, I have to go through special little formats just to get just to draw the evidence off of. I don't use it that much, but it is definitely one I've had with me for a very long time.
Okay, so the question is it a recorder that you've put energy into, or is it your contact field on the other side has adapted to that particular technology to communicate with you? These are the types of questions we have to ask and research. Right.
And, I wish I had the answer for that myself, because it's something I've wondered. And, is this because they're used to this? Or is this because of how many times I've held it in a super, active location, just really wanting and with every fiber of my being to communicate.
And then you have to wonder, if you go out and get hit by a bus tomorrow and that particular EVP recorder winds up in a Salvation Army and somebody picks it up and they wind up with hauntings in their house, is it because of the energy you've put into that particular device, much like haunted objects that people are experiencing in the field today.
Wow. Yeah. That's, I tell you what, we need to make sure that in my will that is destroyed or buried with me with some of the things we've had happen in our lives. Before the break, I was talking about this documentary that really talked about the skull experiment on there, and they had filmed them. I believe it was called the Afterlife Investigations or something.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. There was a gentleman on there, and we were talking on the break. I'm not going to pretend that I remembered. But Bacci, I believe you were saying?
Yeah, Marcello Bacci.
So the type of communicating he's doing, we would call that ITC, correct?
Oh, it is definitely ITC. Over the course of my career, I have refined the definition of ITC basically to mean that we're using a third party instrument to facilitate recording with a discarnate consciousness. And we are allowed to basically replay this communication for further analysis. So that is ITC in a nutshell. So like with EVP, you're using a recorder. It's facilitating communication with a discarnate consciousness. It's third party, meaning you have no influence over it, and you can play the audio back for people to review. I've worked on this definition of ITC for years to refine it to where it encompasses everything about ITC. Now, Bocce, he is definitely ITC. What Bocce would do is he would take his tube radios, tune them to an interfrequency, which is the frequency between two channels, which is basically the everybody's familiar with.
Right.
And it was tube based. And what would happen is, as he sat there and tried to facilitate communication with the discarnate entities, they would start to come through and communicate with an audience. That's the key part of Bocce's work. He had an audience every week. They came into the laboratory space, and he was able to facilitate communication between the others and the living. So parents were able to speak to their kids. Adults were able to speak to their parents, and they were able to answer questions in real time. They were able to come through in their own original voice. And Bocce was directly tied to the skull experiment. And in this documentary, the Afterlife investigations that you mentioned, the guys from the skull experiment went to Bocce's lab, and a few other scientists had gone to Bocce's lab. And what they did is they examined his equipment. And what they determined was that there was no terrestrial frequency coming in that was fixed. What they said was there was communication coming through, but it was of an unknown origin. And that's the key point. They could not prove that it was obviously spirit contact, but what they could prove is that contact was being made and it was of an unknown origin.
That's just simply amazing.
Mm-hmm. And what's more amazing is he did this for 40 years before he retired, and he died last year. So Bocce is one of the unsung heroes of ITC. In the U.S., we don't know much about him at all because he was Italian. He spoke Italian. It's much like the German ITC progenitors as well. There's some great German researchers out there that aren't known in the United States because they didn't do their work in English. That's one of the big divides in ITC because Europe, to be frank, has been head and shoulders above us in research. They've been right at the forefront of it since the 50s.
Right, right. And I could see that. And we're talking a lot more, serious. Not that we don't take it serious, but we have so many people that go for that, big bang, so to speak, or the entertainment value rather than German engineering.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which, and I don't want to get on any kind of bashing spree or anything, but I'm really surprised I haven't seen anybody trying to contact the gambler yet.
Give it a minute. Yeah, somebody's got to come through and actually, edit all the audio first before somebody communicates with them.
Right. Yeah. And the reason I bring that up is obviously you really being at the forefront of pushing the education of ITC to the masses. So it's almost like, okay, so you're using this device. Do you know what this device is? Do you want to know what this device is? We'll go to ITC Voices and you will be able to find out, spend some time on there, browse around. And that's one of the things I respect the most about Tim's work is the fact of how well written it is, number one. And how accessible it is. He wants to share his knowledge that he's learned. So I can feel your frustration sometimes come through when speaking on people that are being less than legitimate with, I should say, with going out and piecing together what they need to piece together to make it fit the narrative, if you will. And, I know that's been a big problem here recently.
Well, it hasn't just been recently, but the fraud in ITC is overwhelming. There are a few unscrupulous individuals who will, as you mentioned, basically troll the internet, find as many videos and interviews with certain celebrities who die, and then basically edit them together for questions that will be asked, and then they are pumped through applications where you can load up your own sounds. So somebody will ask a question and then it's edited and the answer will be the exact answer that you're looking for. And the people who are doing this are making money hand over fist. When a big celebrity dies, that is their bread and butter. They'll wind up with, 500,000 views on YouTube, and a celebrity dies every month. That's a huge paycheck every month just coming in. And it's been a huge problem. And I tried to address this in several articles over the years, but it falls on deaf ears. What happens is in the paranormal field, you and I and other paranormal practitioners, we recognize it is what it is for what it is. Right. And, but our particular field, we're talking to a very niche crowd. We all know each other. We recognize what's going on. The problem is these videos are reaching past our niche crowd and they're going out into the general populace. And when they do that, because people love celebrity, when a celebrity dies, they try to track down information about the celebrity. How did they die? Blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, 2 days later, a video pops up with this guy who says, hey, I talked to this celebrity. You can hear them in their own voice. And the public thinks that's what ITC is. And it's a fraudulent representation of our field. And it drives me nuts. And we are basically castrated when it comes to that. We have no power to influence the public. The only way to influence the public is to pander to their desires, and that is not something that anybody who has a shred of integrity in this field will do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, once it comes out, and I tell people this when training a young investigator. I know a few weeks ago we did a lecture at East Tennessee State University, and when talking to those students, they asked me about, are all the shows legitimate? And I said, well, I can't tell you about all the shows. I can tell you, about when I was on, and I can tell you about people that I know, whether or not I think they are or not. And I said, in this field, once you do anything that is, less than reputable or found out, you're done. You are just absolutely done, because people look at you as, a wacko in the first place.
Right. And unfortunately, people that aren't super familiar with ITC or paranormal, once they see somebody that has faked something, they just lump that all together with everybody that does ITC.
Unfortunately, when it comes to television, there have been proven fakes that have happened even on live paranormal investigations, and those investigators are still around. So that just doesn't always hold true, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. And it's just frustrating on this end as well, just because you want it to be taken. You want people to experience what you've experienced, or at least buy into the experience that you're trying to share with the world.
Well, more importantly, what we're dealing with is we are communicating with consciousness. And not only that, it's talking to us in real time, answering our questions, filling us in on knowledge. I mean, it is an absolute miracle. When I used to be with my team here in Michigan, we did a lot of public events. And at the end of every public event, they were historical society fundraisers. I would sit down with every attendee, so it could be anywhere from 15 to 40 people. We get them in a room. I would pop on a ghost box, and I would try to put them in contact with loved ones. And you could see it just like Bocce did. And, when a mother is able to talk to her son, or a daughter is able to talk to her mother in real time, that is the biggest miracle you can see. And it not only broke my heart and brought tears to my eyes to watch these people break down, but it brought them the biggest closure they could ever get in their life. And it showed them that life persisted beyond this mortal coil. And when these people go out into the field or they sit at home and they fake sessions, it just ruins all of that. It taints all of that. And it really hurts my heart that happens in the field. And people put money over the miracle, and that's the big problem.
Wow. I mean, I can hear the passion in your voice on that, and absolutely believe, every word that you're saying. That's kind of getting to me a little bit, to be honest with you. It's doing my own personal research. I've had some very astounding things come to me. I've had loved ones that I just hear things, and I'm not expecting it. I'm not asking for it, but I'll hear, "Hi, John." And it's in the voice of the person, I know who it is when it happens. And it's just out of nowhere. I mean, absolutely out of nowhere. I could be doing something or talking about something else, but a lot of times, that gets me to this point here. When you were talking about having a group full of people, how long is there a certain time? Do your technicians, do they take a while? Do you know going in that you're definitely going to get some contact for somebody, or have you had sessions where you've had, nothing happen for the group?
Well, that's the interesting thing. I've been doing this so long, and I established a contact field early on. When I turn on a box, some of the first words that come out are "hates him." For me, that is just, that's standard fare. And I have become so inured to that it doesn't even bother me. I'm looking for better contact. But then you look out at the crowd and they're like, "Oh my God, they just said your name." I'm like, "Oh yeah, these people haven't been doing this for so long that it doesn't even register with them." Mm-hmm. The contact, it's going to happen every time. Sometimes it's going to be great. Sometimes it's going to be poor, but there's always going to be contact. That's kind of a given, because that I've dedicated my entire career in this field to working with the other side and establishing contact with the other side for the greater good. And they know that. When I turn on a box, I liken it to the old Kmart where there was this blue light special. So I turn on a box, there's this light that shines in the astral realm or wherever they are, and it just shows that I am there to communicate. And some of the cool things that have happened are all the people I've turned on to ghost boxes over the years through events and through people I've investigated with and people I've met at cons, and I make recommendations for them. And if I've worked with them at an event, I can't tell you how many people have said, "Hey, I turned on a box and asked, where's Tim?" That's just, the contact is going to be there when I turn on a box. And the way that people are faking in the field, you don't need to fake that contact. I'm sorry if a celebrity, if you're reaching out for, doesn't come through to you. But if you sit there and you fake that, once again, you're misusing the miracle. And it's something that is going to happen, and it's always going to happen when money gets involved.
So this contact that you make, I'm just curious, do you have, you call them your technicians, are they the same every time? Like, do they talk to you every time, the same people?
Well, there is one technician who comes through over and over and over. His name is Tom. And technicians, it's not my term. It is not the term of anybody who's a ghost boxer, even though there's a couple people out there who claim that they coined the term technician for these people. The term technician first came through with the work of Konstantin Radova, where it said technician, I'm paraphrasing here, technician has come through to make the signal stronger. Basically, there's a technician on the other side. He's communicating with us. Then you fast forward into the 80s, late 70s, 80s, you had the work of Sarah Estep, and she had technicians coming through as well. So they have carried through into ghost boxing. So I didn't recognize that I had a technician until about 2013. And I started going through all of my old sessions, and there was this one voice that was always in there saying, Tom, 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 same voice all the time. And I realized that Tom was popping up in all of these sessions. He must be a technician. So I started to address him. And when I started doing focused crossover sessions, I would address Tom directly, and he would pop up and say his name. But it wasn't just Tom. There are so many others out there. There's Michael, there's a Jason, there's a Walter, there's a Stephanie. There are so many names out there. And one of the cool things is I'm not the only one who gets Tom. I promoted Tom, and I told the world about Tom, but Tom comes in so many different Ghost Boxers sessions now that they know what to look for. So these technicians not only help me, but they help several other people in the field as well. And there are a lot of people out there who ask me the question, how do I know who my technician is? And I tell them all the same thing. Listen for the same voice. Listen for a name that addresses itself. It's going to pop up in several sessions, and that's how you find who your technician is.
Wow. That's do you think that the technicians are using assumed names like an India, like a call center from India, you know, like when they call and say, you know, hello, my name is Jim, you know.
My name is Tom from Kansas City. How can I help you? No. I don't know. I honestly have no idea, to be honest with you. What I do know is that the name is consistent across the board for several different Ghost Boxers. So at face value, we have to accept it, that particular consciousness at the name that it addresses itself as.
Tim, where, in your opinion, I'm sure you have an opinion on this or a thought. It doesn't have to be canon here. Where are the voices coming from? Like, what is it just a dimension that's off of ours? Is it just a floating consciousness? I mean, obviously it's connected to a greater intelligence.
That is the golden question, my man. Seriously, where are the voices coming from and how are they communicating is the question that is driving all of the research in this field. To be frank, first of all, as I didn't preface this in this particular interview, but I always say that I am not an expert. I'm just somebody with more experience than most. I don't think that there can be an expert in ghost box communication. You can be an expert in how a ghost box is constructed. You can be an expert in ghost box history, but as for the communication, it's still ephemeral. We don't know. Now, I do have my own pet theory. I believe that the communication is not from our physical realm. I personally believe that we are skin suits. Our skin suits basically process emotional and physical stimuli from our physical world. Our skin suits move around and they interact with our world, but it is a vehicle, a receiver for consciousness. Consciousness does not exist in our physical realm. Consciousness goes through our brain. Our brain is like a giant antenna, and our consciousness downloads through our brain to interact with our physical world. Why they are interacting with our physical world, I don't know. Maybe it's for the tactile sense. Maybe it's just to see how different things interact for experientials.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you, Tim, but we do have to go to break, so let's pick that up right after the break, because that is super fascinating.
Yeah, I'll definitely catch you on the other side of the break with that.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot Hot Sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio Saturday. We are your guides, John and Stacey Edwards.
We welcome back everyone listening in on terrestrial affiliates, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 in New Orleans. On the digital side, we are on Revolution Radio. And don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com, Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor and smash that subscribe button.
The website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a boatload of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shop at the Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the SOR Newswire, and so much more.
And once again, we are joined by Mr. Tim Woolworth. And Tim, before we so rudely interrupted you, I believe we had a very interesting thought pattern going there.
Yeah, it was... Let me circle back to that. So I was talking about how our physical bodies are skin suits and that we are receivers for consciousness. Now, driving forward, I was saying that our brains are the mechanism for consciousness to interact with this particular physical reality. The reason that I think this, I can't even remember what the original question was. So we might have to come back to the original question because it was a while ago at this point. But my reasoning behind this is that, one, when we're dealing with ITC, we're actually dealing with consciousness. We're not dealing with a physical body. So that tells me that consciousness does not exist in a physical plane like it does, a physical plane that we can manipulate here in front of us right now.
Right.
I think that consciousness is, you can actually, well, let's take a step back. We can go back in history. If we look at consciousness, Plato saw it as an independent entity. Even in our modern time, you look at Edison, he saw consciousness as a swarm, where consciousness can basically break up upon death and then reform itself into different ways to interact with the physical world. If we look at reincarnation and the work that's been done through the Division of Perceptual Studies at Virginia, for example, we know that consciousness can continue through different iterations of a physical life form. Now, with ITC, we know that consciousness is coming through, but we can also look at mediumship, for example. So when a medium tries to communicate with the other side, what are they communicating with? Consciousness. When you remote view, what are you doing? Your consciousness is projecting beyond the body to a different place in time. When you are doing trance mediumship, what happens? A different consciousness comes through your body and overtakes it. It's using your physical brain to overtake your body to work with the spirit on the other side. When you're doing psychography, also known as automatic writing, what's happening? A consciousness overtakes your physical body and communicates via writing physically. That's why I think that the communication we're getting through ITC is coming from a different dimension. It's the dimension where consciousness lives. So you can tell me this, John and Stacy, how many times have you practiced ITC? You ask a question and you get the answer before you ask that question.
Oh my God. It's a party trick. I mean,
okay.
Birth dates.
Now let's put that into context what I was just saying. So if consciousness is existing in a different vibration, different dimension, whatever you want to call it, than our physical dimension right now. So if your consciousness is communicating directly with another consciousness in another realm, so you ask, who's communicating with me right now in the physical realm? What you have to do is you have to blow that out. So your physical body is asking that question, but that body is being directed by a consciousness on another realm. That consciousness is asking that question before your physical body can even react to another consciousness in that particular realm. And that consciousness is coming through your ghost box at the speed of sound, which is faster than your body can react.
Wow. Dude, you just blew my absolute mind because it makes so much sense.
Yes, it does.
Oh, wow. I've never put that together before. So many times I've had them answer, and I said birth date because that one's happened a couple of times, and I have that one on film. But I was going to ask my birth date because I was trying to teach a few people some amazing things come across this, and it's June before I got to ask it. And I was like, you're not going to believe me, guys. I was like, but I was getting ready to ask it when my birthday is. And my birthday is in June. And they're like, okay. And you could see the looks on the faces. Sure you were, but that's amazing. It reminds me a little bit with the consciousness element of the work that's been done with DMT.
Oh, yes.
That excites me and interests me so much. Just from the fact of going to everybody having similar experiences, albeit short, and speaking to something, beings from another place, and they're like, welcome back. And, it's just reminds me so much of that, Tim.
Oh, I agree. And the DMT experience has been reported by so many people. You have these psychonauts who are out there seeing the same machine elves over and over. And there was a breakthrough. Oh, God, I can't remember what university it was, but it was like 2 months ago. And for the DMT experience, they were working on a form of injection where a psychonaut, because when you're on a DMT trip, it's ephemeral, it's very brief. But with this, and it's done in a lab, you can actually set out on a trip and go for several hours by keeping the certain receptors activated. And psychonauts are really looking forward to what they're going to be able to pull out of it.
Yeah, and I believe that was done in Southern California. I don't know if that was at like a Berkeley or. I do believe it was somewhere in California.
Berkeley's northern. That's by like San Francisco.
Yeah, well, it's California. I just pretend that I know. Everybody in California, I'm just playing. No, but it's really interesting. I know I'd heard a lot of work and read a lot from Graham Hancock about it.
Of course, yeah.
And he's a little bit too excited about it,
Graham is brilliant. If he's excited, you should be excited as well.
There you go. No, I agree. I love the work on ancient. I believe pretty much everything that he says about us. Having the time before time, if you will. It's one of my favorite things to read about. But I'm going to take a little bit here on the chat room. We had somebody ask. I believe it was Nick. I'll probably have that wrong. Asking if we had talked about weird phone calls yet.
Phone calls from the dead.
Yes.
So, yeah, phone calls from the dead, that is something that I believe was reported in the late 50s or early 60s, first in Fate magazine, where you're getting phone calls from somebody who had just died. And it was followed up by the work of D. Scott Rogo, who published the seminal book, Phone Calls from the Dead. Recently, Jimmy Pettinito, and I forget who his co-author was, recently addressed that phenomena as well about a year ago. It is something that has been part of the annals of Fortean research, for almost 70 years now. And it's just in the Gutenbergs not the Gutenberg, sorry. Their name escapes me, but they wrote Hello from Heaven. There's something like Gutenberg. It slipped my mind at the moment. But the book Hello from Heaven, Phone Calls from the Dead, is actually something they qualify as an after-death contact, as one of the most common forms that you get. Now, myself, I have received a couple of anomalous phone calls, but these were back in the early days where we didn't have answering machines anymore, and you had cell phones that basically had no way to transmit the messages that you had to email or anything like that. And they were basic calls that were pure static when I first started getting into ITC, and I wasn't able to save them for posterity, which I regret to this point in time. I was never able to analyze them properly. And but they are still happening. They do exist. It is a very recognized phenomenon. And I hope in this day and age, now that we have the ability to forward phone calls to email and things like that, that our messages will be saved. iDigital Medium, this just popped into my head. So iDigital Medium, I can't remember if it was Keith or Ron. They posted an EVP session that was a 911 phone call. This was back in, 2014, 2015, something like that. And you can actually hear EVP on the 911 phone call.
Wow. No,
Yeah.
I've not heard that.
Another researcher, Rob Garcia, he has phone calls that he's done with remote viewers, for example, and you will get EVP over the phone call because his remote viewers on the West Coast, he's in Missouri, and he will call up a remote viewer to tell him about the location, and he's got EVP over that via phone call.
Right. A lot of times when I'm speaking to people, and especially when I'm talking to one friend I have in Los Angeles, it seems to always happen. And she is normally asking me about, some paranormal type questions. And we start speaking about that, and I'm counseling her. We will get a voice of a man that comes across, and we both hear it. Sometimes Stacy's on a conference type call with us, and she'll hear it as well. And it's pretty weird. We get that a lot though, with other people we speak with at times, and it's so strange how that could happen. You got to wonder how that could even happen. But we got to wonder how all this can happen, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be in a controlled setting, I suppose.
Yeah. I remember back when a friend of mine, John Lento, he's now deceased. He was working with a lady named Deb DeRouse, who promotes a UFO con every year. They had their own radio show on Blog Talk Radio, and I was interviewed several times with them. And usually during the interview, there would be EVP that popped through. The interesting thing is that whenever you dedicate yourself to communicating with the other side's going to find a way, whether it's through phone call, whether it's through your car radio. I don't know how many people out there listening right now have listened to like your local NPR station, but before everything switched over to digital radio at like 58 minutes or 59 minutes, what they would do is they do a quick thing to where they where they'd switch over to an ad before the next program came through. I was listening in my car one day. It was actually like 12:59 because I was on my lunch break. I was outside work, and it did that quick switch on the analog radio, and the voice of my ex-wife came through my car radio saying, "I love you," clear as day.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, whenever you dedicate yourself to communicating, they're going to find a way, and they're going to find the easiest way to communicate with you. And for a lot of us who are on our phone all the time or doing radio broadcasts, they're going to interrupt their way in to communicate with you via that mechanism.
Right. I know one time we had this crazy thing happen when we were doing a public event at this haunted location, and John had brought our shack hack with us, and we were showing it to this group of people that had come to this public event to, see ghost hunting and paranormal investigating. And he was explaining what it was, and he was talking about how the voices come through and how sometimes you'll even get curse words that come through. So you know that you're not actually picking up radio because people don't curse on the radio. So I was recording the session with my digital recorder because I always do that. I find that sometimes we get EVPs that don't come through the box during the session, I guess because of the white noise or whatever. But I was recording the session, and when we went back to listen to the recording, we got this very clear EVP, and John says, you know that this is not the radio because sometimes we get curse words, and then there's a very clear EVP of a spirit saying, "He said we curse." Just very affronted that he would even suggest that would happen.
And it was absolutely from the time period of the people who lived in this house, all through the 1800s into the early 1900s. But it was so, as she said, affronted. It was just, he just said, it's like, he just said we curse.
Yeah, it was great.
I'll have to send that one to you, but it's definitely one of Stacy's favorites because of all the witnesses. We're videotaping it as it happens. And, speaking of that, with the recording of the sessions, Stacy started doing that herself early on because she wanted me to be able to pull out what I was hearing, because I was doing this a lot and getting very connected to it, and would be able to hear something that was underneath. Now, I don't know how to ask this question without it just completely sounding in the nether itself, but in doing the ghost box communication, I have had so many times, man, especially on the review, okay, where I start picking up something that is underneath, and it's a constant. It's like you're constantly in that realm, and once you pick up on it, it's almost like once your ears adjust or once your consciousness connects, that you start getting one thing right after another thing right after. I mean, you're hearing this constant to the point that it's frustrating, that I wish I was back at that conversation and realizing what was actually being said. And that happens to me so much, where I'm getting this incredible information, but I didn't realize it at the time. Has that happened to you? Has that happened to other people?
Oh God, all the time. And that's one of the most frustrating things about ITC is even those of us who've had the most experience using audio ITC in the field today, if you pick up 25 to 30% of the audio in real time, you are lucky. I mean, really lucky. And that's what I always tell people, is that when you do one of these sessions, everybody goes full bore and they're like, oh, I'm going to do an hour-long session. They don't realize that it can take 20 minutes per minute of analysis, strictly because of this layering that you're talking about. You can have conversations at different layers in a span of time. It's like a 7-layer burrito, for example. You can have 7 different layers of conversation going on at once, and you've got to tune your ear into each one of them. And some of them are direct communication with you. Some of them will be talking about you, and some of them will be just inane chatter, and I call that the cafe effect, where There are consciousnesses on the other side who are just having conversations that have nothing to do with what you're talking about. Now, most people will be like, oh, that is just radio broadcast coming through. But then you realize that you're dealing with individual frequencies at a time. And like on a standard shack hack, the 20-125, for example, one of my go-tos, it is only on a frequency for 0.07 of a second. So when you get these extended conversations going on, it's really going on. There's a conversation happening that you are not part of. And a lot of people, they don't look at that. They look for the single response that's going to come through that is the answer that they want. But the longer that you practice this, when you sit down at an audio editor and you have your headphones and you're putting in all of your markers and listening to every 5 seconds over and over and over because you thought you pulled something out, it gets to be quite a task to analyze the audio that you get. There are sessions that I did 10 years ago that I'm still pulling audio out of that's new to me, which blows my mind when you think about it. And then you think of people like Alexander McRae. Alec, who has been part of the EVP scene for, about 40 years at this point. He's a guy who actually helped develop the communication system between our terrestrial communication system to space shuttles. I mean, he is like the guy when it comes to this. He's very on an age right now, and he's kind of semi-retired. But what Alec realized was there was something called retro PK, retro psychokinesis, and I had never seen that term before until he told me about it. And retro PK is when you will sit there and you'll listen to a session that you've recorded, and you are confident of the audio that's come through. You document all of that audio, and then you go back and listen 6 months, a year, 2 years later, some of the audio's changed.
Oh my God. You have me wanting to go back now. But it's honestly, I got chills when you were talking about the different layers even. The different layers. It really did give me chills and goosebumps just because I have, in doing the research and picking up those different frequencies, there is times that I've had something constantly berating me. And it sounds like I don't know. It doesn't sound like some, Beelzebub. It sounds like some punk. And it's just like, you suck, you freak. And I get freaked.
Oh, wait. Stop right there. You said the word freak. For 3 years, I had somebody who called me freak nonstop.
Really?
Really.
That's crazy.
Oh my God. Listen, I've got so many selections pulled out, and I show them to Stacy often. And it's been going on for a while, and I have this thing. It's just like, you're a freak. I mean, that's
yes.
Yeah.
So that's another example of some entity that's communicating with multiple people, just like a tech does.
Oh my God. That's just too much, man.
That's weird.
It's one of my favorite selections that I have is 2 people, and the one says, he's a freak, same guy, but then somebody, a lady, says, no, he cares.
And there was another person who, Konstantin Radova, who was basically the founder of them, who wrote down the way to record EVP for the Western world. He had this guy who would come through and say, now, really loud, and that would tell him to start recording. For the first 4 years I was doing ghost boxes, I had a guy come through and say, now. So these particular entities are continuing and working through different ITC researchers over time.
Wow. It's we're about 9 seconds away here. That's a good wow to leave us on. Join us back after the break as we blow my mind some more.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hey space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefoot?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at CHIVE.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
And welcome back to Spaced Out Radio on Spaced Out Saturdays. You're here with John and Stacy Edwards, and we are bringing you Tim Woolworth talking about ITC and ghost boxes. So, Tim, now that we're back from the break, tell us, what are you doing next? Like, what's your next project?
You know, there's never enough projects, apparently. I'm taking on more projects than I have hours in the day. So obviously, ITC Voices was my big thing for about 8 years. And then that kind of fell by the wayside because the knowledge is out there, and I launched Paranormal Study. And, in 2020, something huge is coming down the pipe. It's Metascience Foundation. Now, a lot of your listeners, unless they are old school ITC guys or are paranormal history junkies, probably have never heard of Metascience Foundation. Mm-hmm. Metascience Foundation was formed by a guy named George Meek. George Meek is the guy who designed the Spiricom console. He put all of his money into it. He worked with engineers, and the Spiricom happened, and it was a set of several tones, and communication was able to be achieved. You would hear voices communicating with you through the use of several tones via Spiricom. So that launched the Metascience Foundation, which became a foundation based out of North Carolina, where the entire goal was to basically examine the proof of life after death. And Meek, he published several books during his life. There was a journal that came out. They funded a lot of different research, like Project St. Peter and a bunch of other things. And when Meek's wife died, it kind of fell by the wayside. And in the early 90s, it disbanded. So myself, with two other ITC researchers, Keith Clark of iDigital Medium, and if you guys go way back in history, ITC Bridge was Keith's first site. And another gentleman, Jeremy Michael Bloxam, who is an ITC historian. He's also the main poster over at the Paranormal Study Facebook page. What we did is we got together and we pooled our resources. We contacted the person who was the last executive at the Metascience Foundation. We negotiated and we're able to buy the rights to the name and all of the remaining materials that they had. So we wound up with an entire library and hundreds of reel-to-reel and cassette tapes and old quarterlies and things like that. They're all in our possession now. And what we want to do is we want to bring this back so people can actually learn from what happened long before the internet, before any of us were in this particular field. And by any of us, I mean our current generation.
Right.
Those of us who go back 10, 15 years, we want to bring back the information that was readily available 40 years ago. On top of that, we've been reaching out to various people in the field who have legacies of audio and journals and things like that are now being sent to us for preservation. And we have several ITC progenitors that we're working with who are sending us their materials. For example, I've received a box of correspondence from Sarah Estep to people like George Meek and Ernst Sinkowski and people of that nature. And I have their handwritten letters, and we're going to preserve those and put them online for people to read. I have an entire collection of cassettes and reel-to-reels of Sarah Estep's EVPs, where the stuff that she had put on her CD for one of her books and the EVPs that she wrote about, I have her original cassettes with her notes, and we're going to be putting all of that online for people to learn. And for people who don't know who like Sarah Estep was, she's the one who formed the American Association of EVP here in America. She's the first person who got everyone together for EVP in America, started the first journal of EVP in America, did the first paranormal conferences in America, and the AEVP was passed on to Tom and Lisa Butler, who turned it into Association Transcommunication, which is the entity that exists today. So we have all of this original information. On top of that, my individual research in Keith's and several others, we're going to be adding to this legacy. So the Metascience Foundation is going to become the repository of ITC in the world. It is going to be the source for everything historical and everything modern when it comes to documentation, research, and analysis. And that's my big project for 2020.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge, dude.
That is so amazing, especially for people, like me, that really respect where we came from and want to learn more, because it's such an interesting field. You can learn so much, so much. When you think most of the ins and outs, people have went through this research. They have found things. And every time I ever have checked out any of your suggestions, even on the website, itcvoices.org, I've always found myself really getting interested and going off into another direction. And anyone who has not been to the site, if you're interested in what we're talking about, if you're interested in ITC in general, again, Tim is a wealth of information. Of course, his colleagues are the same, and you really, really can't afford not to. I mean, it's you learn a lot, and it gives you some great resources so you can sound a little bit smarter.
Right. Tim, while we're talking about, your projects and your websites and stuff, you do have another website also, the paranormalstudy.com.
Yes, absolutely. So what I realized a couple of years ago is that, I've been entrenched in paranormal research for as long as I can remember. My mother had a bunch of paranormal books. We had Fate magazine in the bathroom. That was my reading material growing up. And so I have a wealth of knowledge. And what I did is I had set up kind of a niche for myself. And I was educating on ITC only. I mean, it was in the domain name, ITC Voices. And I realized there's so much more out there. So I wanted to reach out to a global audience and basically say, hey, there's a bunch of paranormal stuff going on right now, and there's so much that we can learn. So I started Paranormal Study. I started it first with the idea that we would put a bunch of lectures online for people to learn from. And I realized, a lot of people aren't okay with that. They don't want to learn from lectures online. They don't want to pay a nominal fee of like $10 to, learn a lifetime of education. So what we did is we started to just put a bunch of articles online. And what it did is it kind of morphed into social media. And our Paranormal Study Facebook page is about 2 years old, a little over 2 years old. We are now at like 198,000 likes.
Wow.
Earned likes in 2 years.
That's unheard of.
It's dominating is what it is. And what we did is we decided to say, something? We have our American audience, great. We have our UK audience, it's great. There's a whole world of people out there that want to learn. So we started to reach out to Thailand and India and Afghanistan, all these Middle Eastern countries. And next thing you know, we've got, I can't even tell you, we get like 30 or 40 messages a day from people who want to learn this stuff. Because I think that's one of the things that is just become so accepted in this community, is that we are Americans dealing with Americans, and that is not the case. The paranormal transcends America, it transcends English-speaking people. It is worldwide experience. So I put a questionnaire on the website about 6 months or so ago, asking people about their paranormal experiences. And it has a bunch of different intersection points. And we're getting answers in every day, and we're trying to publish them on Paranormal Study as they come in. And we're getting people from all over the world reporting the same thing. And I think that's something we've all overlooked here in America, is that this is a worldwide phenomenon. It's not just a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant phenomenon. And that's something we really need to get over in this field if we're going to educate people.
Absolutely. And, that's something that a lot of that learning for me came just from doing the podcast for the last 10 years. And by the podcast, I mean our other 3 that we have done. And I've had so many friends, friends that are still my friends now. I've been friends with them for 10 years, some 5 years, that come on board. And they're a lot of times, not that, North America is stuck up or anything, but a lot of times I'll get people, for instance, one friend from Argentina actually asked me permission to join. And you're like, do you mind if I join your group? I really want to learn. I was like, absolutely, man. Just, come right in, start the conversation. I got a great friend in Germany, that every day is out on the Autobahn there and listening and all this good stuff. But yeah, it's cool because you get these different flavors of what's allowed in their country, how serious they take it as well. In many places where we talk to people, it's just considered part of life. And, to talk to the ancestors, to communicate and what have you. But I completely agree with you on that. I think we need to broaden our minds and open up and really get some more people into the field.
Well, it's not only that, because you can look at like local legends from the Philippines, and then you compare them to the Fae folk, for example, and the legends lined up exactly, but they're 2 different cultures. That's the kind of cross-cultural things that we can learn by approaching other societies.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Let me shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
Going to ask you, we were talking about mediums earlier, mediumship. Sort of a chicken or the egg question here. When you have a medium, psychic medium that's using ITC to help real time give the answers to the person and to the client, or in a big room even, but I mean, is it the medium that is sort of facilitating this, or what do you feel about people that are doing that? As in advertising as a medium, as a psychic medium, but using the ITC?
Well, I have been categorized, not by myself, but other people, as an electronic medium, because what I am able to pull through ghost boxes, you're communicating with the other side. That's mediumship. And I think that ITC plays a very valuable role. But I also think that the individual themselves play a real role in this particular form of communication. So like your standard medium, if you go back through ASPR, SPR, the classic mediumship techniques from the spiritual renaissance, it's an individual sitting down at a table with a bunch of people, and communication comes through that particular medium or through knocks, taps, etc. Now, we fast forward to our modern age where we have the advent of technology to help us out, and we don't have to rely on the medium for mediumship. So the medium, up until the advent of technology, has always been the go-between. The consciousness tries to communicate, the medium interprets that communication, and then that interpretation is relayed to the client. What happens with ITC is the medium in the middle is kind of relegated. We don't need them anymore because whatever consciousness is trying to communicate, it is coming through in an audio fashion that can be heard directly by the client and doesn't need interpretation. ITC kind of transcends the medium. Now, there are people who can use these particular devices and get much better communication as a result. As a direct answer to your question, these particular people are an integral part of the chain. I have another anecdote for you. This was back in 2010, 2011. It was actually my first real public event. It was at a library fundraiser. There was a library and there was a historical building right across the street. They were both owned by the same city, and we're doing an event at both locations to raise money for the library. At the end of the night, I sat down with a group, and it was one of those sessions where I tried to put people in contact with the other side. This was my first time ever doing this with a large group. It was very successful, and the people just kept asking question after question after question, and the answers were coming through. Now, when I use a box, it's kind of odd. It's not like other people who use a box. I've practiced automatic writing since I was about 12 years old. So when I sit down at a box, what I do is I put myself into a minor trance where my right hand, the hand that practices automatic writing, is the hand that's either on the sweep knob or the sensitivity knob, depending on the box. And I let whatever entity come through and control my hand on that particular knob to facilitate clearer communication. That's how my communication happens. I give it over and they control the audio coming through to make the communication clearer. So I was doing this for this particular group, and the communication was stellar, absolutely stellar. But when you do that, it's like any other mediumship. When you let another entity come through and use your skin suit, their consciousness coming through your skin suit, when you do that, you get exhausted. I mean, physically, mentally, just blown out. And after I was doing this session for about 40 minutes, which is just unheard of. You get blown out at that point. Your mind is muddled. I mean, it's just, you have no control, and you just get physically and mentally exhausted as the spirit just keeps coming through. I was at the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. And I apologized to the crowd. I'm like, I have to stop at this point. And sometimes when I get so into these sessions, when I'm done with one of these sessions, when I stop communication, I can't even talk. My tongue like stops in my mouth. It's weird. It's scary to see for the common public, but it takes a little while for me to gain my faculties again. So I wasn't at that point for this particular session. I was just physically exhausted. I said, I really have to stop. I can't do another minute of this. There was a person sitting right next to me, and he's like, he was part of my ghost team. And he's like, I've watched you do this for over a year, and I really want to try doing this. So I said, no problem. So it went from crystal clear communication and I handed him the box. As soon as he put his hands on the box, it was nothing but static. So I know the user plays an integral part to the communication that's coming through.
Wow. And that's, I agree. That's just some really interesting experiences, honestly. That's, let me ask you something here. Tell you what we think of this, or what your opinion is. There was a time we were trying to get something together, and this was, again, probably 2012. We got the domain, everything, and our big idea was we did an EVP project, and that was the domain. He probably still owns the domain, to be honest with you. But we were going to take people's communication, people's recordings from different locations throughout the world, and they could put on a map exactly where they were, what time they were, atmospheric conditions, everything like that, to see the similarities of what was captured at a location. And has anything like that been has it come to light? Has anybody seen anything like that yet?
Oh, in the world of ITC, I really don't think so. Most of us who do ITC, we're not paying attention to atmospheric conditions or anything like that. It's basically, well, for myself, when I've kind of languished and haven't done an ITC session for a while, stuff starts to get wonky in the house. There will be shadows, there will be knocks. I will feel somebody tapping on my shoulder. These are signals to me that, hey, you've got to turn your box on. They want to communicate. So there hasn't, for me personally, I've never paid attention to moon, atmospheric conditions, anything like that. It's just that drive where not people, but consciousness wants to communicate with you, and they're going to let themselves be known. Sometimes, for example, my old shack hack, the first one that I ever did, that's my trusty old steed. The last place that we lived in, I used to leave it downstairs in the office, which was right next to the kitchen. And there was 4 occasions in the span of 3 months where the wife and we would come home and the ghost box would be on, or we'd be sitting in the living room and the ghost box would turn on by itself. And my wife is a scientist. She is very rational, and she doesn't really buy into the paranormal, but she's experienced a lot of it as a result of being with me. She looked at me and said, "That has to go up into your office now."
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you notice when you're reviewing a session that you've done or a recording, do you notice that the activity around you as you're reviewing it sort of escalates?
Sometimes. Most of the time when I'm reviewing, I have studio grade headphones on. Mm-hmm. And for those out there listening, if you want to listen to EVP or ITC, I cannot recommend the Sony MDR 7506s enough. They are perfect studio grade headphones that don't influence the frequencies that you're hearing. They're great headphones. I've used them for 2 decades. But I will sit there and I'll listen and through these headphones, and occasionally I'll hear a loud voice outside the headphones. Of course, you pull the ear off and everything, and there's nothing there. Yeah, it happens. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's we have I have this huge uptick in activity when I'm reviewing a session that's been recorded. I know that's where she was getting that from. It happens every time. And a lot of times when I'm reviewing something, if it's ITC that we recorded, I'll put myself back in that situation. I'll envision myself sitting in that room I was sitting in, or just so I can be back where we were. And there'll be things knock in the room. There'll be things, we've had lights flicker. We've had all kinds of crazy things happen. Not every time, but it does happen. So that, I know that's where she's getting that from. I got to take this from the chat, and we're about 2 minutes from break, but this is just a funny one. So we've been hearing these voices in the background, and it's not a common problem. We've never had that happen before. So throughout this entire interview, there's been these strange voices, and the listeners are hearing it as well. Awesome. I thought I was crazy at first, so I'm sitting here with Stacy. I'm writing notes.
That's awesome.
Like, do you hear this feedback? Do you hear these voices? But it's not us. Very strange.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, that show I used to do with my buddies who had that blog talk radio thing, we had voices that broke through all the time.
Yeah, you're haunted, Tim.
Yeah.
Wait, that is a very important part before you guys go to break. And I can't stress this enough. When you get into this particular field, it's not you're investigating the hauntings. You're going to become haunted yourself. You are going to attract spirit. You have no way of turning that off. You have no control over the spirit realm. You may think that is really cool and you're fine with it, but also think of your partner, think of your children, think of any relatives that may be coming over, because you're going to bring these things into your house and you cannot drive them away. So if you dabble in this particular field, you're not making that decision for yourself. You're making that decision for everybody who lives in your house.
Yes. Well, we're going to go to break, but we're going to talk about that as soon as we come back.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the Woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak Woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
My hands can feel good. I'm free. I'm remembering who I am. My hands can feel good. I'm free. I'm remembering who I am. My hands can feel good. I'm free.
And welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio Saturday. We're your guides, John and Stacey Edwards.
We welcome back everyone listening in our terrestrial affiliates, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And on the digital side, we're on Revolution Radio. And don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And do me a favor and smash that subscribe button.
The website is spacedoutradio.com, where we may need a bigger boat, once again, for all the features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shop at the Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the SOR Newswire, and so much more.
And we're back with Tim Woolworth for the last 30 minutes of this interview. And before we went to break, Tim, we were talking about, or you were talking about being haunted if you get into this kind of research. And that sort of leads me to a question that I believe came through the chat room about, the downsides of ITC research. Are there any dangers or downsides or things that maybe you wouldn't want to happen?
Well, yeah, first of all, obviously, as we addressed before the break, you're opening a door to something that you can't close that door. There are so many people who think that they have control over the spirit realm, that they can walk around with smudge sticks and say, "Spirit, be gone," and they're going to be gone. It doesn't work that way. You can't physically grab a spirit and run it out your door because it's intangible. You have no control over that realm. So if you dip your feet into this realm, whether it be ITC, whether it be ghost hunting, whether it be just sitting at home with a Ouija board, what can happen is you're gonna mark yourself. You're going to, and if spirit finds you interesting, they're going to stick around. I've had an attachment. It wasn't pleasant. These things happen in the field. And that is one of the big negative drawbacks that nobody talks about. You can bring something into your life that you might not be able to expel. And right. I just can't stress that enough for people who think that ghost hunting is something that you do that's a lot of fun on a Saturday night where you hang out with a bunch of people. You can bring something home and it's going to leave when it wants to leave.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Ouija boards. I know a lot of people, they do liken ITC and like doing a Ouija board session like it's the same sort of thing. You're communicating, just different devices. Do you agree with that?
Well, Ouija board is not ITC because the Ouija board is not an independent third-party instrument. You are basically, you have your hands on the output, so it's not something that's recording independently. So it isn't ITC, but what it is it can facilitate communication, whether that communication is with an actual discarnate consciousness or whether it is a way of unlocking mediumship for a different consciousness to come through and communicate. We simply don't know at this point in time, but it is a way of communicating with the other side, just like scrying is, just like, as we mentioned earlier, going into a DMT trip and trying to reach out to the spirit realm. All of these things, you're opening up yourself to the other side.
Right. So if people were wanting to get into this, knowing that there are possible dangers, do you have any advice on maybe any way to protect yourself or some kind of protection that you can do to maybe limit that?
Protection is something that I have looked into extensively. I had an attachment that I mentioned before the break. I went to a major mansion in basically the central New York area. I'm not going to tell you where it's at, but the person who owned that mansion was a Pittsburgh steel magnate who died on the Titanic. And that particular property had been passed down through his family, and a generation after he died, the property was sold unto a church, and a bunch of cabins were put on the property itself. Doing an investigation of the cabins and the house itself wasn't a problem at all, but there was a caretaker's house on that particular property. And that caretaker's house was about a half a mile from the main mansion itself. And the caretaker's house is where everything was popping. For a lot of people, they would call it, quote unquote, a portal. What happened was I was with my team in New York. It was a large team. We had like 25 people, so we're broken up into 5 different groups. I was the leader of the last group who walked into that house, and everybody was experiencing a bunch of activity, and they all said, hey, wait till Tim comes here. He's going to bring a device. He'll be able to talk to you directly, and you'll be able to communicate what you want to communicate. So as soon as I walked into that particular house, I had a mag light in my hand, and all of a sudden it just starts going crazy, just flashing left and right. I was enveloped in a cold spot, and I was like, oh, this, when you walk into a place like that, you're like, this is going to be one hell of a hot spot. What I didn't know is that everybody had primed the pump for me to walk in there. So as soon as I sit down, and I'm with 4 other people, we start to do an EVP session. You're sitting down doing EVP. Everything is quiet. We start to hear this slight burble going on in the background. It's like a conversation that you can't quite make out. It's very whispered, but you can definitely tell that it's a human voice communicating. And we were perplexed because we were the only people there. It's a half a mile from the main mansion itself. One of the guys went out. He walked the entire perimeter of the house. It was a 2-story house. There was no one upstairs. There was no one outside, but we could still hear this burble very, very clearly. And after the EVP session, I started to do a ghost box session. And when I turned on the ghost box session, I was doing we started to get voices coming through, and they claimed to be military, that they were shot, and it was Cherry Hill or Cherry Valley, I can't remember off the top of my head, in New York, where basically the Mohawk Indians were paid by the British in the War of British in the Revolutionary War to slaughter a group of troops at this location, and they were coming through saying they were shot, they're after me, all of this stuff, because it was like 3 miles away from where this location was. And I started to do a crossover session where I'm like, hey, let's take care of you. We'll find somebody who can walk you through and make sure, you're on your way, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as I started it, the team leader who ran the group walked in. She said, hey, it's X time. We've got to wrap up. We're done. So I made the biggest mistake that I've ever made in the paranormal field. I said, hey guys, I can't finish this right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find you tomorrow. and I'll turn on my box and we'll do this. What happened was they marked me, and I was enveloped in cold. It was an August night. The flashlight in my hand was going freaking wonky again, walking up to the car in the parking lot half a mile away, just completely enveloped in cold. I get up there. They put a millimeter against me. I'm registering like 8 degrees lower than the ambient temperature just 10 feet away. Oh. I am in a cold circle. They were doing Reiki. They were doing crystals, all of this stuff. It didn't work. And I realized I've got an attachment. So I drove home. One of my friends who was somebody who claimed to be a spiritualist, he's like, oh, just wish them on their way and leave your car windows down, blah, 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 on the drive home. And that didn't work at all. For the next 3 days, I slept for about 22 to 22 and a half hours a day. I had no energy whatsoever. I had to call into work. I fell asleep eating at one point in time. I mean, it was absolutely insane. And the last time that I passed out, at that point in my life, I was a big collector of African masks. One of the masks that was on a wall that was 5 feet from the chair that I was dozing off in, on the wall, that mask had flown off the wall, flew about 10 feet into the middle of the room, and rotated 90 degrees. So when I woke up, it was on the floor looking at me. Oh my God. And that was them telling me, hey, we're going. And that was it. They were gone. I had no problems after that. So what I did is I had a friend who was a Lakota Sioux shaman. He had the ability to speak to spirit, or at least he claimed to have this ability. We can't, ever know. But he had this ability after he was supposedly struck by lightning. And I talked to him about protection. And I asked him, what can we do? And he's like, oh, well, reach out to Michael or Gabriel or Raphael or any of those people that you believe in. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of an atheist. That's not going to work for me. He's like, well, you're an atheist. And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, what do you believe in? And I said, I kind of believe that, we're in touch with everything around us, that the trees, the rocks, the soil, we're all one giant energy and we all intermingle. And he's like, yeah, that's kind of what we believe in the Lakota tribe as well. So what do you see when you do that? And I said, well, I believe that, there's a light that encompasses everything. He's like, yes, exactly. So embrace that light, which is just another form of saying, let the light in. Right. So when I need to protect myself, which I don't ever do, to be frank, I will just do a session willy-nilly. I don't bother protecting myself ever. But if I get completely overwhelmed to the point where my heart is racing, I can't think straight, I'm full of anxiety, stuff like that, what I will do is walk outside, kneel down on the grass or a tree itself and try to absorb that energy, that white light, back into me to balance out my system. And that seems to work.
That is some pretty amazing.
Sort of like grounding yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
That's some heavy things you experienced there. It's, with your attachment, it's like you had a psychic concussion at first.
That's a great way to put it. I've never thought of that.
It just reminded me of chair shots. So, I was going to ask you, you were talking also about the soldiers, and it got me thinking, have you ever picked up anything like a gunshot? If you were listening to the soldier, okay.
Oh, yeah. In Gettysburg, I've gotten gunshots. My old team here in Michigan, War of 1812, River Raisin on the Monroe River. Monroe City on River Raisin. They've recorded cannon shots, which makes me think that a lot of the stuff that we're experiencing isn't spirit. And that's something we didn't touch on at all here tonight. But I think that a lot of the experiences that we're getting are actions that are physically happening at the same time that we're investigating. I think that every moment in time is happening at the exact same moment, and occasionally we get glimpses of different moments at the same time. I think that's what deja vu is. It's a reckoning of your current state with a state that's being experienced in another time frame. I think that what people are calling residual hauntings or non-intelligent hauntings are actually just glimpses of somebody living their life in their present time, where there's this temporal rift between dimensions and you're actually watching them walk up and down the stairs or cook something in the kitchen. They're just living their life. You can't interact with them, and it's not a non-intelligent haunting. It's actually somebody just living their life, and you're catching a glimpse of what's going on in their particular existence. When we go to battlefields and gunshots and cannon fire, what you're doing is you're experiencing what they're experiencing in real time while they're experiencing it. You're just getting the glimpse of that time frame.
Yeah. And, we've actually got recordings of a former hospital that was leveled, and we got permission to go there because they would not let you go investigate when it was before they had torn it down.
Right, it was condemned, I think.
Yeah, and so we got permission after the fact, and the recordings we got there, we could hear the equipment. We could hear the machine that goes bing. It was
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's experiencing another time frame while it's happening. And I think that one of the biggest misnomers in our field when you're out paranormal investigating is the whole idea of a non-intelligent haunting, of a residual haunting, where it's just something that is absorbed and replayed, which, good God, there's so much wrong with that. If you actually look at particle physics, I mean, everything is made up of particles, and particles either pass through a material or are reflected off a material. Nothing is absorbed and replayed over and over and over unless it's on a mechanism that is designed for that, like an analog tape or a digital recorder. The whole idea of the whole stone tape theory as limestone and traumatic events just replaying things, I don't buy that for a minute. I think you're just glimpsing another reality that they're living in real time.
Tim Woolworth, I love you. So we did not plan this, but I can prove this. So if anybody wants to go buy Till Death and Beyond, this wonderful book by John and Stacey Edwards, available at Amazon.com, you will find in there where I poo-poo on stone tape theory, on residual, actually. I know that people are experiencing something, and very much in line with what your take is, Tim, and the one, we absolutely agree with the whole take on the residuals. A dear friend of mine that I love to death thought every time a train came through that it would shake the limestone, and he would make us all get real quiet because he thought that we were going to experience. And I'm like, I wish it would happen like that, man. I wish right now that we were going to see the recording. It was almost like slapping R2-D2 on the side and waiting for Princess Leia to, give the message again. But no, that's good stuff. Let me ask, we only got a few minutes here. What's your opinion on like the apps that you have on the App Store with, alleged ITC apps or ghost hunting apps? What is your opinion? Is there good and bad in that?
There is. First of all, as I intimated earlier, that whenever you dedicate yourself to spirit communication is going to find a way. There are several applications out there which purport to have spirit communication. I personally do not buy into any apps that have fixed audio files that are not micro audio files. So if you're dealing with audio files that are of extended length, as in seconds, individual second or multiple seconds, I also do not buy into any apps where the audio is not randomized. So what I'm looking for is micro audio files where the audio is randomized. for myself. That's my predilection for ITC, because that's kind of the benchmark for audio ITC, that you have random audio. That's been the goal since, Jurgensen recorded interfrequency radio for EVP as the foundation of audio ITC back in the 1950s. So there are a lot of apps that will accomplish this. One of my favorites is always going to be Echovox, because there's tens of thousands of micro audio files that are randomly spit out, and it's put into an audio echo loop that's re-received by the transmitting mechanism that you have. So you're actually creating an audio loop that not only spits out audio from your device, but it's also bringing in a loop that's created by the ambient audio in your room. And you can build entire phrases and sentences out of nothing from that, which is just absolutely fantastic. There are other apps out there, like Keith Weldon's one of those guys who's sitting there knocking out his apps, and you're getting really solid results that are coming through. But most of them, I got to tell you, are the same graphical user interface and the same software, just regurgitated over and over and over. And that's something that you've really got to look out for, because you'll have one app maker who will do one basic set of programming with audio files and put a graphical user interface on it, use the same exact software, and then change the audio file and change the user interface and do it again and again and again. And these are the guys you got to watch out for, the ones who are putting out like 20 apps, because they're all doing the exact same thing, and I wouldn't trust them as far as you could throw them.
Right. No, I get you, and I agree with the Echovox and the whole loop. It really gets some amazing results on that, and just mind-blowing things a lot of times. Plus, for people that can't stand to hear the it's a great way for people like Stacy. When I say people, I mean Stacy.
He means me.
You mentioned earlier getting super tired when you were going into that state, and I always say that everybody has a tale when you're having communication with spirit, that you have a tale, and it's like playing poker. A lot of times I'm like, you got to figure out what the tale is to know what's happening. Some people get the goosebumps, some people get goofy, some people get super tired, some people get a headache like me, but Stacy gets dead tired when there is something, or when I'm communicating.
It happens the worst with the ITC device, with the Spirit Box or the Shack Hack. I'll be sitting there, and next thing you know, I will be sleeping. It is terrible.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out if that was an actual phenomena or if she's stroking out on us.
Well, hard to say. I mean, it's you could have married an narcoleptic. You don't know.
I wondered many times. She did have the car wreck as a teenager with just falling asleep as she was driving. So,
all right. Well, we only have a couple minutes left. So, Tim, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you if they want to check out more of your stuff?
Yeah, well, I'm one of these guys who thinks that I'm going to become more successful by putting out a lot of websites. So, first of all, we have itcvoices.org, which is dedicated to ghost box communication and other forms of ITC. We have paranormalstudy.com, which is dedicated to all things paranormal. And definitely check out the Facebook page and Twitter account for paranormalstudy.com, because we're putting up entire articles on social media almost daily at this point. I have timwoolworth.com, which is just basically biographical stuff, and metasciencefoundation.com, which will be coming in 2020.
Wow, that is quite the list. Well, we really, really appreciate you coming on and giving us some knowledge about ITC. I know we find it to be a super fascinating part of paranormal, the paranormal study.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's my go-to as well. And but truly, as I said to everybody earlier, if you want to learn, if you really want to know what's going on with ITC, you got to go ITC Voices or find Tim on Facebook and You're not only going to get that, you're going to get some good, witty banter as well, and some great opinion pieces. So I can't recommend Tim enough. It's definitely some good stuff to follow.
I can't thank you enough for the recommendation, guys, and it's always a pleasure talking with you. I think this is the second time we've done this, and it's been a blast each time. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
All right, well, stick around after the break, and you'll get to hear about some strange things that happened this week in history. So stay tuned.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, my friends, we own the night.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey Spaced Out Radio fans, it's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to CHIVEcharities.org and become a donor today.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get BUMBLEFOOT?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at CHIVE.com.
It's now that time to loosen up your mind and enjoy the weird we find, because there's something strange about this week.
All right, so let's talk about some strange things that happened in history for the week of March 22nd to the 28th. So this next week coming up.
This coming week.
Yes, the coming week. So this first item's from 1894. Not particularly strange, but I wanted to add it in because it's about hockey. Hockey.
Are you just trying to tease people because they don't have hockey right now?
Hockey's first,
oh my God.
Hockey's first Stanley Cup championship was played on March 22nd, 1894.
Wow.
It was the Montreal Amateur Athletic Association. They defeated the Ottawa Capitals 3-1.
Well, I cannot believe you just made enemies of all our Canadian listeners. Thank you.
Well, it is something that happened in history.
Yes, no, that's interesting. Maybe we should have. I know I never get a copy of these beforehand.
No, that would take the fun out of it.
Yes, it would.
Also on March 22nd in 1907, in Paris, there was a report that male cab drivers were dressing as women to attract passengers.
Oh, wow.
Do you think that worked?
I mean, it just depends on what the male cab driver looked like.
When they were dressed as a woman?
Yeah. You said, when was that?
1907.
So was it a cab as in a trolley? Or
I guess. Whatever kind of cab service they had in 1907
well,
in
obviously
Paris.
They had some spicy cab service. That's interesting. I would like to see some of that, especially in Paris.
Yeah, I wonder if there's pictures. On March 23rd, in 1840, we have the first successful detailed photograph of the moon.
And when was this?
In 1840, March 23rd, 1840. It was taken by a man named John William Draper. He was an English-born American scientist. I mean, he did everything. He's a philosopher, physician, chemist, historian, photographer. You know, they just couldn't pick a specialty back then. You know. They just had to do it all. But he's credited with producing the first detailed photograph of the moon. He's also credited with the first clear photograph of a female face.
I wonder which came first.
I think the female face came first, but the moon photograph was the one that was in March.
I wonder if he had his After Dark collection. You know, I don't know what he's really credited for, but you know, I was just thinking, I wonder if he has. Like, can you still find this picture, like the first detailed picture of the moon?
Yeah, I think that you can see it online.
I wonder if it has the bridge.
No, I don't think it's quite that detailed. I mean, we're talking about 1840.
Well, I mean, people could see the bridge, and then the bridge was gone, and that's like a big, you know, that's a big thing in
it is
moonology.
Moonology.
Yeah,
that's the new study.
Well, yeah, or lunarisms. You know, it's scientific.
It is. Okay. Well, let's continue. Now, this one is very tragic, and it led to one of probably the most haunted buildings that you hear about in paranormal.
Okay.
So this is from March 25th, 1911. And this is in New York City and is the Triangle Shirtwaist Company fire. And I know that you know about this story, but let's just tell our listeners what happened. So on March 25th, 1911, in New York City, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory caught fire and it killed 145 workers. It was a horrible tragedy, the worst fire that they had at the time, and most of it was largely preventable. There was a lot of young women that worked there, but the conditions were horrible. The doors were locked. There was not a lot of good exits. There was only one working elevator that could only hold 12 people at the time. So when the room caught fire and they were unsuccessful at dousing the fire, there was not time for everyone to get out. And we're talking about hundreds of workers. And, you know, it was panic. It was terrible. And people, I mean, it was to the point where people were jumping out the windows and jumping down the elevator shaft, you know, just to get away from the fire. And, you know, a lot of people tragically were burned to death. It did lead to, you know, some reform in that area.
Yeah, it's sad that, you know, a lot of times you get these laws or you get things that people finally, you know, get better conditions, but it always takes a tragedy. And it just, this one is heartbreaking. I mean, to this day, when you hear the details of what they had to go through, it's no wonder you have hauntings. I mean, can you imagine the hell they experienced?
Right. And that particular building, it's called the Brown Building. And, you know, it does have a lot of paranormal claims now. Things like door handles that are known to jiggle by themselves and, you know, footsteps that are heard running up and down the stairwells. And a lot of times, you know, sessions and lectures that they have in that building are interrupted by, you know, like the sounds of crackling flames.
Oh, no.
Just crazy stuff, crazy claims.
Now, I wonder, can you investigate this place?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I've never looked into it. I feel like it was on a show.
Yeah, it
done
was
on one of the shows.
It was. It just seems a bit taboo to me.
It does, because there was such a tragedy there.
I get it. I know some people really want to go somewhere that they have that overwhelming, you know, death and tragedy and everything to investigate. But there are some things that I find personally a bit taboo. When you can go somewhere that's got your traditional, you know, she waited every day for her husband to come back from the sea. And
the lady in white?
Yes, I like the lady. And I'm a big fan of the lady that waits.
Right.
You know, because I don't know, maybe I'm just more used to the tart that went to the town. That's like the ghost that would be mine. It'd be like, well, she didn't wait very long, and you can find the ghost that was married to John as she was faloozing in the bars and
faloozing.
Yeah,
that's a great word. I think the white nightgown was standard issue if you had to wait for like your man at sea or something.
Yeah,
I think they passed them out.
Or if you aimlessly walk around a road.
Right. Oh, you're going walking at night? Here, wear this white flowing nightgown.
Yes, make sure it's a bit see-through so people will stop and
and pay attention to you.
You know, we've had some encounters with white ladies.
We have.
Or ladies in white. We've had some encounters with white ladies too.
Both.
Somebody's out there right now going, girlfriend, let me tell you.
Well, in an odd coincidence, exactly 79 years to the day after that Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, there was another tragic fire in New York City. And it's like the second deadliest one that they had. It was at the Happy Land Social Club in the Bronx, and it killed 87 people. Yeah. So, and it says exactly 79 years to the day.
Wow. Happy Land.
Yeah, Happy Land Social Club.
Just the irony of the name.
Yeah. And they consider it the most deadly fire since the 1911 fire.
Do we know what happened at Happy Land?
I do not know what happened at that particular fire.
You know how I am about names. Like whenever something calls itself, overtly calls itself something like Milwaukee's best, you know?
Right.
You know going in that it's probably not going to be the best.
I mean, no, probably not. It's sort of like when big guys call themselves tiny or...
Well, yeah. Or somebody professes to you, they're like, I am so honest. I am the most honest employee you'll ever have. And, you know, praise Jesus. I'm never missed church. And every time that in my other life with my hashtag Bruce Wayne job, I, sometimes have to interview people that have taken allegedly some money from the company. And at those times, that's the first thing that comes out of the mouths of the ones that are normally guilty.
Right.
They'll sit down in the chair with me and they're like, Mr. Edwards, I just want you to know I have never stole anything. Man, I hate a thief. I would spit in their face right now. And I am the most honest person. And they'll go on for 5 minutes telling me,
why it's not them.
And I'm just like, all right. So,
well, speaking of coincidences, I'm going to talk about this other thing. And this one happened in March. I do not have a specific date, so I'm just going to stick it in this week because I want to get to it before March is over. And this is about a comic strip called Dennis the Menace. You've heard of this.
Oh, well, yeah.
And, it came from a man named Hank Ketchum, who had a 4-year-old son called Dennis, who was kind of just like the cartoon character. Yeah, he was a little bit of a menace. But
Dennis that needs spanking?
In the particular comic, Dennis Mitchell is the character, and he's 5.5. He's pretty helpful, but everything just goes, chaotic. He doesn't mean to be a menace, but he is. So as a coincidence, also in March in the same year, 1951, same month, same year, a British comic came out in the Beano comic called Dennis the Menace.
Huh.
Exactly the same month, the same year. There's no possibility that either of the creators of either comic strip could have known that the other one was being created. And they both became hugely popular in their countries.
Right. Or popular even.
Yeah. And the UK Dennis is not the same, though. He is not accidentally finding himself creating trouble. He just creates trouble.
Well,
he's just a menace on purpose.
He's a Brit.
He's a little bit older. And
Oi!
he has animals, pets and stuff that are just as bad as he is. And he has this constant battle with people called the Softies, where he's a mortal enemy. So it was a very popular comic. But the weird part is that in March of 1951, both of these comics were created in 2 different places.
Well, you know what I believe.
Yes, that there are muses.
Yes.
And the muses put the ideas out there and people just grab them.
I totally believe that. And since, we've got a new crowd here that they don't know us as well. So I will go ahead and give one of my theories out there really quickly in your something about this week.
Okay.
I truly believe, as Stacy said, that there are muses. I hope they look like you're thinking right now. I don't know if they do, but I think that the universe puts these ideas out. And some people, that more than one person can grab this idea. And I think they do this, or the universe does this, just so it happens. Just so this event happens the way that it's supposed to happen. And maybe it's because we're in a matrix. Maybe that's just a download file. And they're like, well, one of these people will pick it up. I don't
That's
know.
right. Somebody will grab it.
But it just seems to happen that way a whole lot. You know, I've thought of things before, didn't do anything about them. 6 months later, it's a business.
I can even give you one that you thought of. I was sitting on the couch with you when you thought of this, and that is the As Seen on TV store.
Yes.
I do remember you saying there should be a store where you can buy As Seen on TV items in your neighborhood without having to order them off the television.
Yeah.
And now there's that store.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's do one more here. And this is from March 26th. On March 26th, 1997, 39 members of the Heaven's Gate awaited transport for their souls to a waiting UFO with $5.75 in each person's pants pocket to pay for tolls.
You know, the one thing about that is a really good price for tolls.
I mean, it really is, especially if you're going on a UFO, I would think.
Yeah, I mean...
That's a deal.
I mean, maybe the exchange rate is just amazing. But, you know, you talk about tragedies.
I know. And see, Heaven's Gate, for anyone that doesn't know, Heaven's Gate, it was just, you know, religious cult. It's based near San Diego, California. It was founded back in 1974 by a man named Marshall Applewhite and a woman named Bonnie Nettles. And that date, the March 26, 1997, was the day that they decided that it was time for them to go.
It was a strange year.
On the UFO. And they were in a mansion. It was a big mansion that the group rented. And, you know, they had their money in their pocket. They were all wearing sweatpants, you know, black shirts, Nike athletic shoes. I do remember that.
Yeah, the shoes is what I remember. It's horrible.
Yeah. And in case anyone wondered who they were, I think it said that each member also had an armband that said Heaven's Gate Away Team on it. And just weird thing, they all drank the same thing. They even put plastic bags on their heads to make sure that once they passed out, they would suffocate. And that was their way of, you know, going.
You know, I hope there's a special place reserved for Applewhite. You know, I mean, that's the best place for this guy would be in a room with those people that he talked into doing that. Unless we're all crazy and they're somewhere else. And
I mean, maybe they're on that UFO.
Yeah.
It says that members that ranged from as young as 26 to as old as 72. And, you know, it was crazy that he could convince these people, all of these people.
Well, I mean, that's happened throughout time.
Yes.
I
Cults
mean,
are scary.
They really are. It happens today. I mean, you know, it wasn't that long ago. We've had stories in the news with people that have done amazingly strange things, and you know, with their kids, and their kids are gone, and you know, it's in modern headlines right now because of joining some kind of cult or letting somebody get in their mind. And I don't know, you know, grooming comes into it, and you know, being around someone influencing and, you know, saying, well, you see that's because of this or whatever. Right.
And I do remember when this happened, and the pictures were just so eerie. That's why I said, that's why I remember the Nike tennis shoes, because I feel like I remember seeing a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Where
video.
You just saw, you know, all the people's feet lined up there, and they're all wearing the same exact. You think if they were leaving this world, they would have, you know, sprung for cheaper shoes.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably why they only had $5 in their pocket.
They spent all the rest of the money.
Yeah. I mean, it's really nuts. I mean, the whole part of it's nuts. But I remember the shoes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's definitely, you know, this is called There's Something Strange About This Week. There's not something depressing about this week.
I know. I'm sorry. I couldn't find a ton of strange stuff. It seems like all the really good, like, mass UFO sightings had already happened or are going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
And, you know, I looked up all kinds of, like, strange history, UFO history, Bigfoot history, and all I could find was the sad stuff.
Well, you know, the positive thing is when we do this next year, you'll definitely have something from 2020.
That is true.
Yeah. If we all survive, which we will. Right?
Right.
Just tell me that. We're going to be fine.
Right.
We'll definitely talk about the great epidemic plague that's,
and where everybody had to be in the in quarantine, because that's just strange.
Yeah. I mean, it's very scary times that, we live in. And right now it's something, honestly, I never thought that I would see what we're seeing right now.
Right.
And, when you go out to the grocery store and it's apocalyptic and people fighting over toilet paper.
Right.
It's and if it continues on its path right now, hopefully they'll have some kind of cure or something, and hopefully we can, Dave through the week and us on Saturdays, and I mean, hopefully we can, sort of
get distracted.
Yeah. Everybody needs a good distraction.
They do,
and to wash their hands, basically.
Yes, please wash your hands. Public service announcement.
Yeah, and another good distraction would be Paranormal Sideshow.
That's right.
You could check us out.
If you have not heard enough of John and Stacy, you can go over to our website, paranormalsideshow.com, and check out our podcast.
And amazingly, we don't have a Southern accent on the other one. It's the strangest thing.
I edit that out.
Yeah, she does a masterful job of editing. And basically, the Paranormal Sideshow, for people that don't know, just to give this out there, it's not just paranormal. It's everything. It's weird. It's strange, macabre. Basically, Stacy attempts to read the strangest news that's going on in the world, and I riff over it.
Yes, he interrupts and gives his point of view.
Quite a bit.
Makes jokes.
Yeah. So, we got a couple minutes here, and I want to talk some more about ITC.
Okay.
Because it's, again, I started using it at the same time that Tim Woolworth did. Right around 2010, I think it was late 2009, to be honest with you.
Right.
Because with using it with Tim, I distinctly remember 2010.
Yes, definitely.
And we were using the Shack Hack. And some of the things, I wanted to expand on this just a bit. When I talk about the underlying vocal track.
Right.
It comes from the fact of doing so much research with these things, with the ITC. And, it doesn't matter if it's the SB7 or the Shack Hack. I've used a Frank's box. No matter what I'm using, I've had these crazy communications. And it's always when I go back. It's always when I'm doing the review. And it just was so interesting to me that Tim also knew what I was talking about and has that same layered communication.
Right.
So anyone who does this, or if you want to try this, if you order an SB7, which is very obtainable, it's definitely something. When you go back, you record the session with your digital recorder. Super interesting just to hear these different levels.
Right. And, if you don't hear it at first, because it's not something that I do enough to be able to hear it. And I think Tim was touching on that as well, where you have to practice it, where you have to do it over and over. And the more you listen, the more you hear. And I know where John does it all the time, he can hear all that stuff. But if I listen to it, I can barely make anything out. That's very clear.
All you hear is the top line.
Right. Like it really takes concentration and practice.
I think that's what puts you to sleep, is you're just hearing the but I mean, when you do it and underneath you're hearing this, it's amazing. But it's something I really encourage anyone that's interested in this. You don't have to be a paranormal investigator, just an enthusiast.
That's right. Well, it was a really interesting topic. I'm glad we talked about it, because I know that it's not something that's readily knowledgeable for a lot of people. Even if you're in the paranormal, you don't always know how to get started or what you should do or all the benefits of it. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's again, there's so many sites to get one. There's so many sites and I think the cheapest route would be the SB7.
I think so.
To try it out, or you can go to paranormalsideshow.com and listen to some of our
some of the stuff we've gotten. Yeah, there you go. All right, well, I think that about wraps it up for Spaced Out Saturday. It's about time to start hearing some music.
I believe it is.
So we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL hypnotizing our senses with The Day After. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Always tip your bartender and show some mad love for the guitar deity himself.
And a special thanks to everyone listening in at home, in your cars, your big rigs, at work, the asylum, because I know you're listening, or in our chat rooms, wherever you may be.
And remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SRR Media Adventures Limited. Thanks for sharing your Saturday with us, because together, my friends, we own the night.
Now, let Bumblefoot drive us back to reality until we take this trip again. Good night, everybody.
Good night.